Hello and welcome to Big Orbit's Cardfight Vanguard weekly update. My name is James, and I will be going through all the new cards that have recently been shown for Cardfight Vanguard, similarly to the Big Orbit Games blogs version of the weekly update, which I also do. So, if you don't already know, I just go through all the new cards that were shown throughout the past 7 days, talk about their skills and how they interact with other cards. To start off big, I'll show off the new GR for Gold Paladins and GBT07, which is the first GR to be shown. Sunrise Ray Radiant Sword Gurgwit. He has an extremely strong stride. If you're at GB2, or Generation Break 2 as it's also known, and you are united, then you may Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 2. If you do, he gains 5,000 for each of your rear guards, and then all your rear guards gain 5,000 power too. This is the perfect way to fix up any weak columns that you may have that Gold Paladin are known for, because their calling can be quite random, and it's just a nice late game finisher, which will just buff up your whole field. And another bonus for it is you can use it multiple times. It's not a once per turn. So as long as you got the soul, which normal Gurgwit will need a little bit, but as long as you got the soul and it's going to be your finisher anyway, you may as well power up your rear guards to maybe plus 10 or maybe plus 15,000 power. The slight problem with this is the power isn't given to called units after the effect has taken place. So unlike Transcending the Heavens Outmile, who would keep the buff in your front row until the end of turn, Gurgwit just gives those units the power, and then if they're gone, then the new unit that replaces them just has normal power. Like I said before, the soul is used a bit more with grade 3 Gurgwit, but you do get some soul charging units in this set for Gold Paladin, such as Knight of the Thin Sun Marcia, who will countercharge at the end of your turn if you put her into the soul. There is also Knight of the Early Dawn Cole, who will cool a new unit by going into the soul, and also give it extra power. So with Cole you can prepare the field for the new Gurgwit. Knight of Blooming Sun Jeffrey goes into the soul after he's boosted to draw a card, and finally Scarface Lion draws a card when your Vanguard with Gurgwit attacks, and gives the Vanguard plus 5,000 and you draw an extra card. So all in all, the first GR that's shown, the new Gurgwit, is extremely powerful. We can expect good things from the Kagura one, which is going to be Overlord specific, so it's probably going to be even stronger, which people might not like because Overlord's already got a lot of support, but it will keep Kagura fans happy. Ezel also gets support in this set with Windflame Lion Wonder Ezel, who is a grade 2. When you call Wonder Ezel, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard called Ezel and that's at stand, then you can search your deck for a new grade 3 Ezel, put it on the Vanguard circle, and then shuffle your deck. This doesn't need to be done on the main phase, but unfortunately your Vanguard does have to be at stand, so you can't Superior Ride after attacking with your Vanguard. This gives you an early cross ride if you put Platinum Ezel over the top of Blonde Ezel. And also if you just want a powerful finisher, you put Raven-haired Ezel on the Vanguard circle. But unfortunately we're not sure when Raven-haired Ezel is coming out in English, but hopefully it's soon. Square 1 Dragon is a new grade 3 for Gear Chronicle. It has a skill both on the Vanguard circle and the Rear Guard circle with Generation Break 1, but the cost is Counterblast 4 and Soul Blast 6, but if you do, you return all your opponent's rear guards to the bottom of their deck. In a way, the skill itself is better than Kronos Command Revolution, but the cost itself is crazy. You'll need to prepare a lot for this, but luckily he has another skill on the Vanguard and Rear Guard circle with the Generation Breaker 1, and at the end of the turn, you may Soul Charge 1. There's a final skill when he's called onto a Rear Guard circle to Soul Blast 1 and reduce his grade by 3 to make him a grade 0. The point in this is to time leap him into a grade 1, because Gear Chronicle do have a lot of useful grade 1s. But just bear in mind that he's not a grade 0 in your hand, so you have to have called him, which means you have to have already had a grade 3 Vanguard. Even if you're not using him for his Counterblast Soul Blast effect, you can still use him for the soul charging, as it will help Steam Knight Mudal, Steam Knight Meshi, and Steam Skara Gigi. As I've said before, the cost is very big, and people are calling this a Mega Blast G, but this cost isn't a problem with a certain unit. This unit is Snow Elemental Hyako. Hyako is a grade 1 Cray Elemental, with the Act on the Rear Guard circle and a Generation Break 1, to bind 2 of them face up, and all your Vanguard's abilities with Counterblast 4 and Soul Blast 6 or more become 0 until the end of turn. So your Vanguard has to have both of these costs. You can't have just Counterblast 4 and not Soul Blast anything. They have to be both Counterblast 4 or more and Soul Blast 6 or more. And then you get to use the skill for free. If it's an act skill that your Vanguard does have, then you can't use it twice in a row, as it does also say until the end of the next time you use it as well as the end of the turn. So this doesn't only fix Square 1 Dragon, it also fixes Mega Blast units. If you're new to the game and you're not sure what a Mega Blast unit is, they're pretty old cards which would have a Counterblast of 5 and a Soul Blast of 8. So a good unit to use this on would be Steel Vampire. A Steel Vampire puts a grade 0 on your opponent's Vanguard circle. Then with the help of Doppel Vampire, who prevents your opponent from guarding with grade 0s, this will stop them from guarding from the hand if you're attacking with Doppel. Before Hyako this was possible, but with a Soul Blast of 8 in the Dark Irregulars deck when Doppel needs 15 soul as well to activate his guard restriction effect, it wasn't thought of as a good plan. Even now it's still a bit, you wouldn't want to rely on it, maybe have 1 or 2 Steel Vampire just in case if you're using Hyako. But the whole Hyako going into the bind zone is a bit of a problem, because many of them will find themselves in the soul somehow. This is probably better with Agravane and Amaterasu. Now, Agravane's skill would give him plus 1000 for each of your rear guards on your opponent's and your turn, and also give him a crit until the end of the game. So you would use this to activate his skill. Because Gold Paladins are such good superior callers, you might be able to even use it twice in a game with not actually paying the cost. For Amaterasu it's a bit different because her attack has to hit, but thanks to the Legion it gives her a lot more power and a much easier chance of hitting. Angel Feather get a new stride with Black Seraph Gavrail. As an act once per turn, with the Generation Break 2, Counterblast 1 and G-Persona Blast, she then gains the effect where if a unit is put into the damage zone during the battle phase, then you can choose 2 of your units and give them plus 2000 power until the end of turn. Also, after she is attacked, you may rescue 2 units. If you're not sure what rescue is, it's a new keyword for Angel Feather, which means you heal 1 of the cards in your damage zone, can be face up, can be face down, and then you deal 1 damage to yourself. But the trigger is active, so if you were to get a crit, heal, stand, draw, all those triggers would be active. You could give the power to anything, you could draw, heal, give crits, stand, all sorts of things like that. So it's basically like another drive check that doesn't go to your hand. Not only does the rescue give the power that way, but also with units like Nurse of Broken Heart, Million Ray Pegasus and 1000 Ray Pegasus, you can easily get your field to extremely strong levels as they all gain plus 2000 power when a card is put into the damage zone. With more Gavrail related goods, we also get Black Dream Zabania. Now Zabania is the grade 2 Glimmer Breath clone, so she has the usual Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, but also has the additional choose a card from your hand and put it into the damage zone. But once you do, you can take a card from your damage zone, has to be face up, but it goes into the field, so you get a bit of a field advantage. And then after the card has come out, Zabania gains plus 2000 power, and you then get to rescue as well, getting chances of crits and heals and all sorts. As this gives you field advantage as well, it will also help you prepare the field for Gavrail when she needs to use her abilities. And the rescue will also help with 2 new units. These 2 units are Laser Clutcher Kiel and Drill Motor Nurse. Kiel is a grade 2 and Drill Motor Nurse is a grade 1, but they both have the same effect, which is Generation Break 1. When this card is put into the drop zone from the damage zone, you can call it to rearguard circle. Then if it was put into the drop zone due to a rescue ability, it also gains 3000 power until the end of turn. So with this, Zabania can actually call 2 units onto the field for just a Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. And the other great thing is that they don't need rescue, it just helps for the power boost. So if you're using older decks, you can still use Kiel and Drill Motor. Onto G-Guardians. People weren't very happy with the Fighters Collection G-Guardian for Angel Feather, but luckily we have Holy Seraph Surya. When she's placed on the Guardian Circle, you can Counterblast 1 to look at the top card of your deck. You can either put it on the top or the bottom of your deck, and then you rescue 1. So being able to see, if you see it's a heal trigger, you keep it there. If you see it's a normal unit that's not Kiel or Drill Motor, you might want to put it at the bottom. This gives you a lot better chance of getting your triggers. And the Counterblast doesn't really matter, considering you can just heal that card anyway, because Rescue can heal face down cards. Black Shiver Gavrail and Nurse of Broken Heart both will boost your Vanguard's attack power, so then it will be much harder for your opponent to hit you. So although Suriel doesn't gain more shield, with the right setup, she has the potential to give your Vanguard an extra 11k power. Kagura also get a new G unit with Flame Winged Steel Beast, Denial Griffin. With a Counterblaster 1 when he's placed on the Guardian Circle, you can retire an opponent's attacking rearguard. So this will stop all the Silent Tom clones coming for you and Regale columns, and will also give you less of a struggle against Magia decks from Pale Moon, because the problem Kagura have had at the moment is that Magia go all the way back into the soul, there's nothing on the field, Kagura can't do anything. It's the same thing with Great Nature, but they retire themselves, but at least this will stop the massive power coming to you. Maybe use it on Crayon Tiger or the thing that Crayon Tiger's boosting just to get it out of the way. Also using the grade 1 Lizard Soldier Belog, you could retire another unit that's at rest. So you could retire the booster, you could retire the other front row rearguard if they've already attacked with it. So a lot of people have been a bit angry about this card, and I'm not really sure why. I don't think Kagura players will play more than 2 of this in their G zone, because against a Vanguard attack it's not that useful, because it doesn't gain any shield. Finally, from GBTO7 this week, we have Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon, Dragonic Blade Master Titan. Now, Titan has the Blaze ability, which a lot of rearguards would have anyway, so it's not going to make that much of a difference. And for a G-Blast, you can retire one of your opponent's rearguards for every face-up version of this card you have in the G-Zone. And then if you're also blazing when he attacks, he gains +1 crit. So at best he's going to be killing 3 rearguards and going in for extra damage. Then, even if you're against Pale Moon or Great Nature or Grand Blue, at least you'll still get the crit. So something that a lot of players will be excited about is the reveal of the next technical booster, the Genius Strategy. So like the last one, we have 3 clans in this one, which are Murakumo, Mega Colony, and Great Nature. The English release is August the 28th, but we'll be seeing all the cards by the 22nd of July because that's when it comes out in Japan. And I'm especially looking forward to the Mega Colony unit in this artwork because, well, the artwork for all 3 cards is amazing, and they all need some love to be fair, they've all got little problems here and there. But seeing as I use Mega Colony, I'm a bit biased. And surprisingly, they've already announced quite a bit about this set. First of what we learn is we're going to get 5 reprints in this set. 2 for Murakumo, 2 for Great Nature, and 1 for Mega Colony, and they're all getting alternate art. So the first one that we've actually seen the new art for is Coiling Duckbill. He's an extremely useful card in Great Nature. When he's placed on a rearguard circle, you can choose one of your other rearguards and give it the effect that when it's retired, you get to draw 1 card. So he's a pretty old card, so he's been sought after by a lot of Great Nature players, but now it'll be a lot easier to get your hands on it. The other 4 cards that we haven't seen the new art for are Murakumo's Lake Diver, who's a fairly recent card actually. I'm surprised they're reprinting this one, but he is extremely useful with Homura Raider, as he clones himself to have 3 of them on the rearguard circle, so with Homura Raider you can just put them back into the deck and stand up. Mega Colony get Machining Stag Beetle, which is another sought after card. He's a grade 3 for machining, and when he's put on the Vanguard circle, you can choose 2 cards with machining in your soul and put them onto rearguard at rest. The main reason people still use this card, despite him having only 10,000 power, is for the Stride Machining Destroyer, which is an extremely powerful stride but requires you to have 4 units with machining in their card name on the rearguard circle. Then Great Nature also get Castanet Donkey, who's a draw trigger and goes into the soul and gives 3,000 power to another unit, and Murakumo get Cat Devil, who does the same thing but as a critical trigger. For new cards for this set, they've shown a new Murakumo Stride, Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Yasuie Tenma. So he has a new keyword for Murakumo, which is Shadow Stitch. Shadow Stitch takes effect when one of your units' attacks didn't hit. So for example, Yasuie Tenma has the Act skill once per turn, Generation Break 2 and G Persona Blast, to gain the ability where if your unit's attack didn't hit, then you can counterblast 1, search your deck for a copy of the same card and pull it to rearguard circle. And from what we can see of the ability, the clone stays there. It doesn't go to the bottom of the deck, which some people might not be too happy about because Murakumo are quite good at hiding themselves back away, so against Kagura and Narukami, stuff like that. So for this to change what Murakumo do a little bit, might seem a bit weird for old players of Murakumo to use. I think its true worth comes out once your opponent is at 5 damage already, because you attack, it doesn't hit, you attack, it doesn't hit, you attack, you just keep on attacking until you finally hit and get them to 6 damage. We'll need to see the newer support to see whether this will actually find much use, because at the moment there aren't many Murakumo units that gain enough power to actually hit an 11k Vanguard. But at the moment we do have Fujino, who does become an 11k, and if her attack hits you can countercharge 1, but she has no abilities to attack from the back row. Because it only says unit, this does also mean you can clone your Vanguard if your Vanguard's attack doesn't hit. So you won't be able to clone the Stride itself, but you'll be able to clone its harp, most likely Yasuye or Hyaki Vogue. For Great Nature reveals, we have some Hamski support. Now if you don't know what Hamski does, it's a series of 3 cards: Pencil Squire Hamski, Pencil Knight Hamski, and Pencil Hero Hamski. They all have the ability where if they're retired, you can counterblast one, search for a copy of it in the deck, and call it to rearguard circle. So for our support that we get Hamski's Schoolmate, Oil Pen Hamjiro, a grade 2, and with an auto effect on the Vanguard or rearguard circle, at the end of the turn, you may retire a Hamski if you have a Hamski Vanguard, and then countercharge 1. So this changes the counterblast into a sort of just no cost at all for cloning your guys. And because he technically has Hamski in his name, you can use it when he's on the Vanguard circle. And we also get a new grade 3, which is an 11k, which they kind of needed because the last grade 3 was a 10k. This unit is Hamski's Schoolmate Fountain Pen Hamkichi. As an act on the Vanguard circle, once per turn by soul blasting one, choosing a Hamski from the drop zone and putting it to the bottom of the deck, you can choose 2 of your Hamski units and give them plus 4000 power. And then at the end of the turn, you retire them. So this is where you use Hamjiro to retire it anyway, and then countercharge 1 and then counterblast 1 for the clone effect. And you can also soul blast any Hamskis you've ridden, so then they can go to the bottom of the deck, then you'll be able to find those clones. It also helps you keep all your triggers at the top while your normal units at the bottom. He has a second act skill on the Vanguard circle where you counterblast 1 and he gains plus 4000 for each 2 Hamski rearguards you have, so a potential of getting plus 8000 power. So this will power up your whole front row, giving your Vanguard plus 8 and your rearguards plus 4. Lastly, for this week's cards, we have Dazzling Mutant Deity Wasptail, a new Stride for Mega Colony. As an on-hit effect, you can Soul Blast 1 and G-Blast any G unit, and choose one of your opponent's rearguards, then all units in the same row and column as that unit are paralysed. So what this means is you can paralyse up to 4 units through this skill. Because if your opponent had a full field, you could choose either the back row in the left or right column, and then all units on the back row will be paralysed, and then the unit in front of that unit will be paralysed too. There is a slight problem with this effect where it doesn't rest to your opponent's units, so if they're still stood at that point, then the paralyze won't really make any difference to them. Also, it conflicts with Darkface's Soul Blast skill a little bit, but hopefully we will be seeing more soul charging in this set anyway. One point that people have been making is that it puts a lot of on-hit pressure on your opponent. So if they're forced to guard this a few times, then you can use Stun Beetle, and then your opponent will have a paralyzed Vanguard that they can't ride. Chances are if your opponent keeps up to date, then they shouldn't find a problem with this, but if they're not that knowledgeable about Mega Colony, which is pretty common to be fair, because not many people pay attention to them, then you might be able to trick your opponent. Well, that's all the cards for this week. Feel free to make a comment about how you feel about the new cards, whether you like them or you dislike them, and make sure to check next week's video to keep up to date with all the new Vanguard news. So that's bye from me, James, and I'll see you next week.